In the wake of devastating floods that ravaged North Korea, Kim Jong-un, the nation's supreme leader, embarked on a highly publicized tour of the affected areas. Images broadcast by state media showed Kim navigating flooded fields and inspecting damaged infrastructure from a small rubber boat. This gesture, while symbolic, aimed to project an image of a leader deeply concerned about the plight of his people. The optics of the inspection, however, stood in stark contrast to the reality on the ground, where thousands faced displacement and food shortages. The recent floods inflicted significant damage on North Korea's agricultural sector, raising fears of a looming food crisis. The country's northern provinces, known as the nation's breadbasket, bore the brunt of the disaster. Vast swaths of farmland were submerged, crops destroyed, and vital irrigation systems crippled. The floods exacerbated existing food insecurity in a nation already grappling with chronic shortages. The United Nations estimated that over 1 million people were in urgent need of food assistance even before the disaster struck. Despite the severity of the situation, North Korea maintained its long-standing policy of rejecting international aid. This stance is deeply rooted in the nation's ideology of Juche, which emphasizes self-reliance and independence. Juche, a cornerstone of North Korean political thought, dictates that the nation must chart its own course and rely solely on its own resources. This ideology, while often touted as a source of national pride, has been criticized for hindering humanitarian assistance and exacerbating the suffering of the North Korean people. Section 4. Shifting Blame. Kim Jong-un's Public Reprimands. As the floodwaters receded, Kim Jong-un's response shifted towards assigning blame. During his visits to affected areas, state media captured Kim publicly reprimanding local officials. He accused them of incompetence, negligence, and failing to adequately prepare for and respond to the disaster. These public displays of anger, a hallmark of Kim's leadership style, served to deflect criticism away from the central government and project an image of a leader taking charge. However, they did little to address the underlying systemic issues that contributed to the disaster's severity. Section 5. State media's muted response. Controlling the narrative. North Korean state media, renowned for its tightly controlled narrative, maintained a muted and carefully curated approach in its coverage of the floods. While acknowledging the disaster, state media downplayed the extent of the damage and casualties. Reports focused on highlighting the resilience of the North Korean people and their determination to overcome adversity through self-reliance. The leadership's response, particularly Kim Jong-un's on-the-ground inspections and directives, received prominent coverage. This selective reporting aimed to control the narrative, project an image of strength and stability, and prevent the spread of panic or dissent. Section 6. A looming crisis. Transparency concerns and humanitarian fallout. The North Korean government's handling of the flood disaster has raised significant concerns about transparency and the potential for a worsening humanitarian crisis. The regime's refusal to accept international aid, coupled with its tight control over information, has made it difficult to assess the true scale of the disaster and the needs of the affected population. International organizations and aid agencies have expressed concerns that the lack of access and information could hinder their ability to provide timely and effective assistance. The situation underscores the challenges of addressing humanitarian needs in a closed and secretive state like North Korea.